Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. So please stay with us. It's only 3 minutes. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I really recommend that you check them out. So listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to their website. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. Go to their website, check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you did. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We'd like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration platform for a number of states, thousands of ADs, and even if your state uses a different platform, you can be a home campus school. Their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Find out all the great things that they can do for you and your program. That's homecampus.com. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, used the Ohio program. And here's a cool thing. While they were earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at the same time. The Ohio University Athletic Administration Masters is one of the most respected in the profession. And to find out more, just go to their website and follow the links. That's Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to thank Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like, digital ticketing, of course, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, or a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything. Kids, coaches, how about parents? But the cool thing about the surveys is that they not only connected us with the parents we already heard from, those squeaky wheels, they also connected us with the 98% of our stakeholders that supported our program. And having that data was incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They'll create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. It's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. This is going to be a fun one. When I first had this gentleman on the podcast, geez, about 4 years ago, I introduced him as a friend of the show. He was always liking our podcasts and commenting, and now he's back for a second appearance. So we're going to get an update. Our guest today is Mon Perry. Mon is a certified master athletic administrator, and he's the director of athletics at the McLean School, and that's in Maryland. I hope I'm right on that location. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, he has a great background in athletics, and we're excited to have him back for a update. Mon Perry, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
It has been. We've touched base. I think Facebook and Twitter,
Hmm.
but hopefully we can connect in person this coming December at the national conference. You're coming down to my state in Florida, but you know the routine. Let's go and get started. Let our listeners know kind of your origin story. Just to maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Mon Perry story?
Yeah, so I am originally born and raised from Los Angeles, California. I grew up with a very athletically savvy family. My father played college football, and my older sister played high school basketball at a high level, and then went on to play at Columbia. So I was around sports from a young age. Obviously, a lot of it was because I had asthma, and it was just to keep me moving and keep me engaged and something like that in order to help with that. So I was thrown into a lot of different sports growing up. I played flag football, played basketball, played soccer for a little while, baseball, pretty much you name it, I played it. So, yeah, sports just played it was an important piece of my life kind of growing up. And it just remained kind of as I went on to play in high school and then went on and play basketball in college. So, yeah, so that's the short version of the Demond story.
Oh no, I love it. But let's take a little deeper dive. You mentioned a lot of sports. You mentioned your sister and your dad. Um, Looking back, was like my parents, they were not involved in sports, and I'm 100 years
Mhm.
older than you. But my brothers and sisters were, and so I was always chasing them. I mean, parents, they just kind of let us go play. That free
Yeah.
range parenting back in the day.
Uh,
For you, with your dad being an athlete, was it guidance? Was it pressure? Was it, they kind of let you find your way? What are your memories of those early days?
Yeah, I think they let me find my way, but it was just kind of like a natural kind of transition for me just because I was around it all the time. Like everything that was played in my house, it was always, I'm from LA, so it was like Laker games being played or like, you know, football, college football, professional football. So I was always around it. So it was just something that was very natural to me. It definitely wasn't forced. And then always obviously being younger, having an older sister that she's traveling all over the world on the top AAU team, traveling places to play basketball. And I'm like, hey, like I want to do that. I want to travel places and play sports. So I think it was just a natural thing kind of for me to kind of just hop on.
Now, I got to ask the question because the image just popped into my head. Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller. Was there a moment there? Did you ever were you ever able to beat your sister one on one on the court, or was that ever a thing?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was definitely a thing. It took me a while. It took me a while. When I in middle school, when I was taller than her, I had a growth
Yeah.
spurt, and I was taller than her and much stronger than she was. I think at that point it was over for her. So it happened pretty early for her. But for my dad, it probably didn't happen until I was in high school. I was in high school and we played. We would always play, but we like seriously played one on one in high school and he was, yeah, it was a little bit too much for him. But before that, they would always get me. But I'll always remember the day I first beat both of them in
Oh
basketball.
yeah. Yeah, you never forget that moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
the torch has been passed.
yeah.
Um, you've had, and we're going to get into your athletic director career. You've had a tremendous career. You've been in a number of just very impressive schools. Can you look back to a moment? Maybe it was, in the driveway, maybe it was in high school or college. Can you look back to a moment that at the time it happened, maybe it was practice, maybe it was game, didn't seem like much, but now looking back with experience and wisdom and perspective, you can
Mhm.
point to that moment a long time ago and say, hey, that was a significant moment for me? Anything jump out for you?
I think there's a few. I think, especially, I think I mentioned this in the my previous podcast. My high school, in addition to my family, my high school basketball coach had an enormous impact on me and kind of where I am today. He was also someone. He was someone who was obviously was my coach in high school, but he was also the athletic director at the school, and I saw how much he was doing and how much he really cared about, providing the students with the best student athlete experience possible, even with us being at a very small private school. And that just had always a huge impact on me, just kind of just how he was able to kind of lead and seeing him as a leader at both from an AD perspective and from the coaching perspective. That always, I didn't realize it at the time how much of an impact it was having on me, but looking back now, I always kind of go back to that and use that as kind of the beginning point of kind of where I am today and where I am in my career. Just wanting to do a lot of the same things that he did for me as a high school student, both as a player and as just a student at that school. So I would say there are a lot, but that one is always the main one that I always like to go back to.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's still so vivid of a memory for you that, I'm sure that impacts you when you're working with your kids and your coaches at your
Mhm.
school. Let's go and jump ahead to college. You mentioned college basketball. How did that all turn out?
Yeah, so out of high school, I ended up going to the first school I went to was Florida Memorial, HBCU in Miami Gardens, Florida. So I went there for my first year. They were one of the few schools that was recruiting me out of high school. So I went there. That was an experience. Definitely an experience. I think it gave me it exposed me to kind of the physicality of Florida basketball versus LA basketball. It was much different style of play there, so I had to learn quickly. So it was a good experience, but it was just I was super homesick, and I wanted to be back home, closer to home, and kind of be able to play close to my family, have them see me play. So I was only there for 1 year, and then I ended up transferring to Whittier College.
Hmm.
And played there, NCAA Division III school, and played there for the remainder of my time. And then graduated with a sports management degree, kinesiology and sports management degree. Um, and definitely was one of the best decisions I made. Obviously, I enjoy like my time at Florida Memorial was a good experience, but just the relationships I built and kind of steering me in the direction of where I am now, it all happened at Whittier College. So I always kind of refer back to that point as to another reason as to kind of where I am today, kind of the role that I took.
Mhm. Wow, I had forgotten about that you had spent some time in Florida.
Yeah.
Um, sport management, kinesiology, what were you thinking at that time, career wise, or was it just moment to moment where you were thinking, hey, I want to be a coach, or, what
Mhm.
was on your mind possibly from a career perspective?
I think at first it was coach. I really wanted to kind of get into, the college coaching and then really transition to doing something. My plan was I was going to be a college coach for X amount of time, and then I was going to transition to the NBA and kind of outside of a coaching aspect and do more operations and kind of be a GM, or I had all these kind of lofty goals when it came to things like that. So that was my grand plan. Um, out of college. And I ended up kind of going that direction because after I graduated from Whittier College, I took a year off to coach back at my high school underneath my high school coach for 1 year while I was applying for graduate school, and I ended up getting into the University of Washington's intercollegiate athletic leadership program, where I learned a lot about kind of the ins and outs of the athletic administration. But also, I was a graduate assistant for the men's basketball team under Coach Lorenzo Romar, who was the coach there at the time. So I was there for 2 years, and I got it was a good mix of kind of learning the operations and administrative side of things, but I was also on the court with the players, going through drills, being a practice player, doing all those things. So I had a good mix of both, and to help kind of steer me to the direction of either or. I knew at that point that I could go either direction, whether it was continuing to be a coach or to do more administrative stuff. So that's that was definitely another turning point, kind of in my trajectory.
Boy, that had to be just a great experience. I mean, at the time, you're still young. You mentioned practice player. You're out there,
Yeah.
going against D1, but
Yeah.
seeing all those behind the scenes, game day ops, from a coach and from a administrative level.
Hmm.
Just I'm jealous just thinking about that. That's great.
Yeah. It
Let's
was very, it was a really good experience and allowed me to, like I said, the folks there, the staff there really did a good job of kind of allowing me to kind of just figure out what I really wanted to do and allowing me to giving me responsibilities in all different aspects in order for me to kind of figure it out.
Oh yeah. Let's go and take our first break. For our listeners, our guest today is Mon Perry. He's a certified master athletic administrator. We're going to hear from a couple of our sponsors, but we're coming back, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to their website and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You hear me say pretty much every episode, one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, they just loved the Huddle platform. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
Yeah, I want to shout out Huddle. We are currently here at McLean School in year two of using Huddle, and now we are going to be using it a little bit further with installing our Huddle camera into our gym for volleyball or for basketball games. So it's definitely been a great addition to our athletics program here at the McLean School.
Well, geez, thanks for sharing that. And again, I feel the same way. I knew Huddle as a football coach, and I was kind of concerned if our other coaches would like it. But gosh, our basketball coaches, the volleyball coaches, I used to love walking through the gym and just seeing them with their cell phone programming the cameras because they wanted to do practice. So thanks for
Absolutely.
sharing.
Sure.
Um, Once again, for our listeners, our guest today is Mon Perry. He was back on the podcast in season 2, and we're doing an update. It's great to hear from him again. He's the athletic director at the McLean School, and that's up in Maryland. Damon, you just taken us up through, kind of that GA experience at the University of Washington. Um, Take our listeners on your journey, and you've had a pretty good journey that's now brought you to the McLean School. How did you end up
Yeah.
there? What were some of those stops?
Yeah. So after graduate school completed, I spent like a short period of time, like 6 months, as a video coordinator for the men's basketball team at the University of San Diego. But it was a temporary kind of role. But then after that, I transitioned into more of high school coaching for a little while. I was an assistant coach at Orange Lutheran School in Orange County, California, for one season. And then after that, got a phone call from my college. He was the assistant coach for my at Whittier College, and asked me if I wanted to join his staff as his for the first year of him joining being the head coach at Whittier College, because my head coach transitioned into the athletic director role at Whittier College. So I joined him on his staff, and I was there for one season, serving as one of the assistants on staff. And that was obviously a great experience for me, obviously, because I was still at the point trying to figure out which way I wanted to go in terms of either coaching or athletic administration. But I just felt like something was pulling me more into like the admin role at the time. I enjoyed my time coaching at Whittier College, and really like it was a great experience for me as just to continue to grow as a leader. But I think that shift was happening kind of in the middle of that season. So, and then there was a position that opened up at the University Prep in Seattle, Washington. And obviously, I was familiar with Seattle, Washington, because I had spent a total of 2 years there previously. So I was like, hey, as an assistant AD role, this would be a good kind of entryway for me to kind of make the transition. Um, and I will be working like primarily with the middle school athletics, but I'll be helping with all things athletics at the University Prep. And went through the interview process, and Rebecca Mo, who I know is a friend of the podcast, made a decision to hire me, and I was, I joined her staff, and I was there in that role for for 3 years. For 3 years, and then at the end of the third year, it was like during the pandemic towards 2021. Um, I knew I was I wanted to kind of see, what else was out there in terms of like how I could continue to grow in the role. While I really enjoyed my time there, and I consider Rebecca Mo to be one of my mentors, and kind of I credit a lot of my success to her because she gave me a lot of runway to kind of just learn and grow kind of within the role and allowed me to kind of have a lot of responsibilities while I was at University Prep. Um, but then there was a position that opened up at Catlin Gable School in Portland, Oregon, and it was more of an associate role at a bigger program. One that has history of state championships in multiple sports for soccer, for tennis, for whatever have you. So I thought it would be a good segue for me to kind of transition to have more responsibility and to be in a different at a larger school. So that position opened up and I applied for it. And ended up getting the job. So I was there. I was there for 1 year. I was there for 1 year, one season. I mean, well, not one season, one school year. And it was a great experience for me. Obviously, being at a much bigger school, there was a lot more that I had to do in terms of like setting up fields, interactions with families, donors, you name it. I kind of had a great experience in a much bigger environment. So I was there for a year, and then while I was there, the position here at the McLean School opened up, and I actually one of my mentors, Anthony Thomas. He from San Diego. Well, now he's in San Francisco, but he's kind of bounced from San Diego to San Francisco. But he presented the position to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in moving to the East Coast?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of, we'll see. Maybe it depends on the situation. So this position opened up, applied for it, and kind of went through the interview process, and it all checked out. My wife came with me we had an in-person visit, and my wife came with me. I just want to make sure she was good with the area and kind of, she was okay with us making another move because at that point we had moved, twice already. So I had to make sure she was okay with it, and she was good with it. And they offered me the job, and here I am. I just finished my third year. I'm beginning my fourth year in this role, and just continuing to just try to find ways to just improve the program and grow the program, but also continue to learn and grow as an AD and as a leader.
Again, I always love to hear about the journeys and the process. Um, Looking back to your interview with the McLean School, and our next segment, we're gonna do all things deep dive into McLean.
Mhm.
But that interview, I mean, they kind of pursued you. It sounds like.
Mhm.
Um, what at what point during the interview do you recall saying, "This is the fit for me. This is where I need to be"? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I don't think it was more of a feeling that I had than anything. I think, and I really felt it when I came on the school visit. And I was, it was an extremely welcoming environment. Like everybody went way out of their way to make sure that I felt comfortable and had everything I needed and answered all my questions. And it was just a feeling that I had just amongst the kids, just interacting with some of the kids, interacting with some of the faculty, with the admin team. It just felt right. So I think it happened pretty quickly as soon as I like entered the campus, and I knew, coming in that it was an athletic program that has a lot of room for growth and still does, but had a lot of room for growth at the time. So it was just something that it just felt extremely welcoming, but also something where I knew I could get what I needed in terms of learning and growing in the role, especially being my first kind of head AD job. It was just more of a feeling than anything. There wasn't a particular thing that was said or done. It was just more of a just overall feeling that I had.
Oh no, and that makes perfect sense. I remember the last school I was an AD at before I ended up retiring a number of years later. Very similar, and just in the conversations with everybody, it seemed
Mhm.
like there was they were looking for leadership, and I contrast that to the previous school where I was hired. The head of school wanted me, but the coaches said
Yeah.
they were not looking for leadership. I remember my head of school after I signed the contract. He goes, "Jake, that athletic department is the Wild West, and they need a new sheriff." Wait a minute, you didn't tell me that during the interview, but
Nice.
Let's go and let's take a break. And when we come back, I want you to share with our listeners all things McLean, why you think it's the greatest school in the world, and maybe some things that you do to help it be the greatest school in the world. Let's take that break. We're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, I'm telling you, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to their website and check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about parents and sponsors? You got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. You're going to be very glad you did. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to find out more. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com.
And I also want to shout out Gipper. I'm beginning my fourth year working with them, and they've made my job a lot easier. I remember back in the day when I was doing social media at Whittier College, I had to kind of make graphics on Photoshop, and it would take me like hours to do it. So being able to kind of make a graphic in 30 to 45 seconds, depending on what kind of graphic it is, has made my life a lot easier. So shout out to Gipper.
Oh, again, you're absolutely right. And you're a young guy. I'm this old fossil athletic director, and I love Gipper because it's so stinking easy to use. And
Yeah.
again, the templates. Once you've got it, it's easy to substitute. You just did a volleyball one. Well, now you just type in basketball and drag a basketball picture in there. So, absolutely. Thanks for giving that shout out.
Mhm.
For listeners, we're visiting today for the second time. He's back after a couple of years. Mon Perry, Certified Master Athletic Director, and he's the Director of Athletics at the McLean School in Maryland. Mon, you told us how you ended up there. Let's hear the why. What's so great about the McLean School? What are some things that you've done that you've added to make it the best school around?
Yeah, I think just the fact is, I think the mission of the school is what stands out the most. It's there are a lot of schools in the DMV area, but this one stands out in terms of how they're able to tailor the teachings of and what's being taught in the school to the kids, right? So this is a school that is generally tailored towards students who have some type of learning challenge. There are a lot of students who are at our school that have ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, things of that nature. While there are traditional learners as well, but the mission is to meet the students where they are, kind of right. Acknowledge and uplift them in their areas of strength, and continue to work with them on their areas where they need a little bit more room for improvement. So it's really about meeting the kids where they are and just helping them be the best versions of themselves, which is something that really stood out to me because my whole thing has always been I always want to be the best Mon Perry that I can be. So that was definitely something, especially in the interview process, that stood out. And then in terms of the athletics program, I knew that it was something that had a lot of room for growth and a lot of potential in terms of what could be happening. So, prior to my arrival, like we weren't using things like Gipper or any type of social media. They were using social media, but it wasn't very consistent at the time. So that was one of the first things that I decided that we needed to bring in order to kind of get more eyes on the athletics program, right? So that was one of the first things, and I think just trying to be consistent and create systems that are consistent across the board. it felt like our coaches were kind of doing a lot of things on their own and kind of operating separately. So I think it's really trying to connect all of the programs together in order to help create a better athletics program overall. So yeah, just trying to find ways to just improve and just bring more light to the program as a whole. Like we entered a deal with BSN when I first got here. It was with Under Armour at the time, but now this year is actually our first year. We're still with BSN, but we transitioned to Nike, which is very rare being in Maryland and being in an Under Armour heavy kind of environment. But we made the transition to Nike, just another way for us to kind of stand out among some of the schools in the area. Um, yeah, so I'm just always just trying to find ways to improve, build, create systems, create consistency, whether it be through communication channels, whether it be through social media, whether it be through programming. It's all in order to create the best experience for the students here at the McLean School. And even though they go to a school that kind of is very unique in its mission, um, my mind is like, I want this to be a school just because it is that type of a school. It doesn't mean the students can have the same type of experience as someone who is at a bigger, more prestigious school and more athletically traditional school.
No, I love the aspects that you shared there, including things that you brought to the table. I guess I'm curious. I didn't even think about that. Under Armour. I mean, that's right there in Maryland.
Yeah.
Any blowback from let's say long-term parents about the change, or they just kind of
No.
accepted, hey, this is cool.
Yeah, no. So it's funny because one of the things that I wanted to do, especially me being from the West Coast, like I am traditionally more of a Nike guy, right? Obviously, coming from Portland, like you spoke of nothing but Nike, right?
Mhm.
So coming in, I wanted to do it when I first got here, but I got a lot of pushback when I first got here about like they're like, no, we don't do that, like not that type of a school. So it took me some time, but I was able to kind of, by the time I rolled it out this year, there was no complaints.
Yeah, yeah, you had to build that street
Yeah.
cred, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I just showed him that I knew what I was doing before I could make that type of switch.
All right. Um, Looking at again, my career, the last 20 plus years of it was at independent schools, private schools, very much like McLean. You have programs that, some of them, they're almost on autopilot. They got the great coach, they have the tradition, the kids, whatever, and they're winning. And that's great to have those winning programs. You
Mhm.
might have some others that as an AD, you're trying to help get to that level. What are some things that you do as a athletic director to, support those successful programs and keep them rolling, but
Mhm.
try to get those other programs that are struggling for whatever reason, get them up to that same level?
Yeah, I think first I really, and this is something that was one of the pain points of kind of the community when I came in. I think that there wasn't it didn't seem to be that all the programs were treated kind of the same in terms of from the administrative standpoint. So the first thing I wanted to do was just make sure that it was consistent across the board, right? No matter if you are a team that is winning consistent league championships or a team that is just beginning and is kind of just trying to find their footing. I wanted to make sure that that all teams had access to the same resources at the same level. Obviously, there are different types of levels when it comes to that, just because basketball needs a certain amount of things versus soccer versus golf versus all those things. But I wanted to make sure overall that it was consistent. And then obviously, it just really just supporting. The biggest thing is just really supporting our coaches where they need assistance, right? So we have our established coaches who have coached for a long period of time, who are very, very good at what they do. So it's really just trying to support them from like, hey, what else do you need? Like, do you need help with, you know, sending certain emails, communicating? Do you need help with learning a certain type of a drill? Things like that. Just kind of just fine tuning, helping them fine tune kind of their overall kind of coaching ability. And then we have a lot of young coaches who are coming in, fresh out of college or kind of just don't have as much experience in at the level of some of our other coaches, and it's really just kind of just like, hey, this is what it means to be a coach. This is kind of like what you're supposed to be doing. This is how you do it. I try to provide as many examples as possible of kind of things that I've done or things other coaches have done in order to kind of help them kind of progress in their young stages of coaching. So it's really just it's a case by case basis with each team in terms of what they need and what the coaches need. But overall, I wanted to make sure that everyone has access to the same amount of things and resources, or whether it be equipment, gear, you name
Well,
it.
I love that approach, and it leads right into my next comment. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, find out a little bit more about how you do things at the McLean School, or just add you to their network, what's the best way our listeners can get in touch with Mon Perry?
Yeah, I'd say two ways. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so if you just search my name on LinkedIn, and I'll pop up, and I'm pretty active on there. I try to do a lot more posting on there, just about what's going on and kind of things that I'm involved in. Um, and then also my school email, which is dperry@mcleanschool.org. So those are probably the best ways to get in contact with
Okay. And for our NIAAA members, Demon's contact information is also in the membership portal.
me.
Let's go and take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration platform for a number of states, for thousands of athletic directors. And even if your state uses a different platform, you can be a home campus school. I'm telling you, their athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to see all the things that they can do for you. That's homecampus.com. We'd also like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And here's another cool feature. While you're completing your master's degree, you also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's also say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is still changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the leading digital ticketing provider for high schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an AD or a principal, Hometown can help you save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. Go to hometown.com and don't forget to mention the podcast. That's hometown.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're visiting once again with Mon Perry. Mon, when we first had you on the podcast, you had recently earned your CAA. Now, a couple of years later, you got your CMAA. I think it's important for our listeners, particularly the younger ones on their journey, to hear about how that happens. It doesn't happen by accident. So can you share your journey going all the way back to maybe your first state conference or your first NIAAA conference?
Yeah, it was definitely something that I thought was extremely beneficial for me in my learning trajectory. And I utilized kind of, especially to get my CAA, I utilized the downtime or perceived downtime that we had during the COVID times to really kind of use that time to really take some classes and learn and grow it from that aspect. And a lot of it was just hearing about, attending my first state conference, the one there was one in Washington State in I think it was 2019. Took my first couple of classes there to kind of get the ball rolling, to get my RAA, and continuing to attend the state conference. It's funny because the first state national conference that I attended was here. It was in Potomac. No, National Harbor. I'm sorry, National
Right.
Harbor.
Huh?
So it's funny kind of how things kind of shake out. I end up living here like, many years later. But yeah, I just kept hearing the importance of you know the classes that are being taught and how you can kind of implement those things back in your schools, and also just using it as a way just to continue to learn and grow as a professional kind of in this space. So I highly recommend those who are young and beginning in this space to get your CAA, to get your CMAA, and just continue to find ways to continue to learn and grow in the space. Like I already have my CMAA, But I'm looking at the national conference this year and what classes are being taught. And I'm like, there's some new ones, and I'm like, all right, maybe I should take a look at this, right? So just always being in the mind state of just learning, wanting to learn and grow, kind of in the profession, and that's what will keep the progression, kind of the profession moving in the right direction. And then in terms of my project, I think it's funny because I was already in the process of doing my project, like without even realizing I was doing my project.
Right.
I was creating a handbook, an athletics handbook for the McLean School. And I asked someone, I was like, hey, like, I'm already doing this. Can this be something that I use as a project? And they were like, absolutely. I was like, done. I'm already doing it. I'm already halfway done. So we're good. so it worked out from that standpoint. But I highly recommend getting your certifications, NIAAA certifications. Because it's definitely done a lot for me in my growth in this role.
Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing that. And you bring up such a great point. And from being a longtime member of the National Certification Committee, that's exactly what we tell people. You are, regardless of what stage you're at, if you haven't taken a single LTI course, or if you're wondering, what can I do for my project? I guarantee you are already doing something as an AD. Maybe it's with students, with coaches, with facilities, maybe it's a handbook. You're already doing something that would make a great project. You just have to organize it and put that story into words, or if you're going to do it, the oral presentation, put it in a PowerPoint presentation. Those are the best projects, not something that you try to look high in the sky and I want to have a great project. Do something that you're passionate about. Do something that you're already doing. And good for you. You mentioned you already have your CMAA, but you're signing up for courses. I try to take at least one course a year, either at the national conference or at our state conference. And hey, I'm retired, but I'm going to throw this at you, Damon. The NIAAA's cohort program. I was very fortunate to be part of the very first leadership cohort, and it was just a fantastic experience. If you haven't heard of it, they have a number of different cohorts on leadership. You can take a cohort, and in 1 year, you have earned the QPA for your school.
Mhm.
And there's a new middle school cohort starting this year. They're year long. You meet once a month virtually. You also meet at the national conference at the beginning and the
Mhm.
end. So those of you with your CMAAs, I encourage you strongly to check out the NIAAA cohort program.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually did that as well. I'm sorry to interrupt. I actually did the cohort. Yeah, yeah, I did it. Was it 2 years ago? Not this past year, but the year before that. It was a full year program, and I think we started when the conference was in. I think it was it Nashville. Nashville. Yeah, I started. That was when I started the cohort, I believe.
hey, great minds think alike.
Yeah,
Well
yeah.
done. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Um, let's see, looking back at those, looking back at all the courses that you've taken, I'm not going to ask you to give me the number, the name, but can you share with our listeners, maybe at least one, maybe two things that that were, let's say, touchstone moments for you, either hearing the presenters share it, maybe it was in the lecture notes, maybe it was in one of those informal discussions at your table. Um,
Mhm.
any big, again, I'm a moment guy, any big
Yeah.
moments from your LTI experiences?
Yeah, there was one. I can't think of the name or which LTI course it was, but there was a conversation about, which I'm sure this won't come as a surprise, just navigating challenging, personalities or just handling difficult conversations, things like that. Um, and I think at that point I think I was at Catlin Gable still at the time. And I think it was a big moment because I was at a table with a lot of experience, a lot of more experienced ADs than myself, and just kind of hearing how they navigate situations, um, which is beneficial for me because a lot of it was realizing that a lot of people are having the same conversations, and it may just look a little differently, and the people are different, obviously, at these different schools, but some of the conversations being had, across the nation and in schools and athletics are very similar. So just really just kind of I tried to really pick at just different things people said and just try to see how I can implement it in, the conversations that I have here, either with people on campus or with stakeholders or with parents or things like that. So that was one of one of if I had to think of one moment, that was one moment that was extremely beneficial.
Well, it's such a great point. So many times athletic directors, you're the only one in the building. And if you're going through a challenge, it's easy to think, hey, I'm the only one that has to deal with this. I guarantee you that there's another athletic director, there's probably 1,000 that is going
Hmm.
through that exact same thing. It underscores the importance and the value of networking and reaching
Hmm.
out. So thanks for sharing that point.
Hmm.
This has just been a lot of fun reconnecting with you, getting you back on the podcast, but we're not done yet. As always, we wrap things up with the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Your tools from about 4 years ago are part of the second edition of the Athletic Director's Toolbox book. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to let you share some more tools. Maybe they'll be the same, maybe they're going to be different. They're going to end up in the fourth edition of the AD Toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, let's see what Mon Perry puts in his new Athletic Director Toolbox. As always, we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment on the podcast. You know, um, Athletic directors get a lot of feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group so you can hear the concerns and hopefully keep them from turning into something big. But here's the cool thing. The Athletic Surveys program will also connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today for a second round. Mon Perry. He was on season 2 of the podcast. Now he is a certified master athletic director, the director of athletics at the McLean School in Maryland. Has a tremendous background as a leader. And now we're going to put him on the spot again to send out a brand new AD on their first job. But we're only going to let him put 3 items in the toolbox. So, Damon, what's going to go into your second round of the athletic director's toolbox?
All right, so I think one of them will be, and I know this is the same as what I said before. A well organized Google Drive will steer you in the right direction in any scenario. Knowing how to locate things and kind of being extremely kind of put together and organized in that standpoint, and in order to find all the information you need, I think is extremely important. Um, Another one that I'll say, which is new, is I've been really just trying to really immerse myself in AI and how that can help me in this role, especially being kind of at a smaller school with a small athletic department. I tend to kind of try to find ways to automate certain things that I do so that, it's not really something that I really have to like mentally think about every single time. It kind of just happens kind of at, when I need it to happen. So I've been really kind of deep diving down that path and kind of AI and AI agents and how to automate certain things in that standpoint. So I would say just learning how to prompt AI, whether it be for presentations, whether it be for Chat GPT, whether it be for creating videos. There are a lot of different avenues, different ways that you can use it within the athletics department. So just really just learning more about that and kind of just having that in your toolbox, at least a willingness to learn how it can benefit your athletics program. Um, and then the third, I think I mentioned this before, and it'll always remain kind of, an important aspect in this communication and how you communicate um, to all different stakeholders within your community, whether it be coaches, administrators, students, families, community members, things of that nature. But now, I think it's communication, but communicating effectively in all of the avenues that you need to communicate in, whether it be via email, whether it be via social media, getting information out there, whether it be, school announcements, whether that be talking to your student athlete leadership committee. So it expands a lot more than just being a good communicator. It's about knowing when and how to communicate effectively with many different stakeholders that you're going to be interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So while some of mine are the same, they're a little bit more improved, but the AI thing I think is here to stay, whether people, want to believe it or not. So I think it's just really just important for, just us to really just learn how it can benefit us in a way that will, make our programs run smoothly.
Oh, again, I love all the tools, and good tools are always going to be good tools. Communication, organization, we've done almost 700 interviews, and those are frequently the two of the most common tools mentioned because they're so important. When we first started doing this 5 years ago, AI wasn't mentioned a single time. And,
Mm-hmm.
and now this past year or so, it gets mentioned more frequently. It's like the AD that says, "Oh, I don't use social media," or I don't go on the internet. Well, guess what? That's probably why your programs aren't as good as they could be. So even I use AI for those very things that
Yeah.
you mentioned. So great suggestions, great tools. Thanks so much for sharing. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and connect, pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way our listeners can get a hold of Mon Perry?
Yes, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer as many questions as possible. If you want to send me a message there, I'd be happy to chat. We can chat on there, or just off, use that as kind of the intro, and kind of just take it from there. Then also my email, my school email, dperry at mcleanschool.org. Um, I'm always happy to answer any question that anybody may have about kind of what I'm doing here, or just the role itself, or just my trajectory. And then also, like I said, like you mentioned, I'm very active. I try to be very active, kind of in the space. I'll be at the national conferences, so if you see me at the conference, don't hesitate to stop me and say hello. I'm always happy to kind of talk any and all things athletics.
Well, again, thanks so much for sharing with our listeners. All the best for another great school year at the McLean School. And let's definitely plan on connecting, maybe getting a beverage in Tampa at the national conference.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
For our listeners, we appreciate you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.